Hello, my name is Kaitlyn Miller. This is for Straighterline, case study number 3 for Introduction to Criminal Justice. So the history of the Eighth Amendment. The Eighth Amendment, adopted in 1791, was part of the U.S. Bill of Rights and was designed to protect individuals from excessive bail, excessive fines, and cruel and unusual punishment. It was influenced by the English Bill of Rights of 1989, and the main goal is to ensure human dignity by limiting the government's power in criminal justice. So the Eighth Amendment violation number 1 for this case study would be deliberate indifference. It's a common violation which occurs when prison staff knowingly place inmates in harm's way. An example would be housing a vulnerable inmate with known violent offenders without proper supervision. And the case study shows deliberate indifference, which is a key standard for the Eighth Amendment claims. The Eighth Amendment violation number 2 would be denial of medical care. Denying or delaying necessary medical care to inmates is another form of cruel and unusual punishment. Courts have ruled that ignoring the serious medical needs of inmates constitutes a constitutional violation under the Eighth Amendment. Just because those in the correctional system and justice system, just because they were found guilty of a crime does not mean that they're deserving of harsh or punitive, what's the word I'm looking for? Punishment. The Eighth Amendment violation number 3 would be excessive use of force. Excessive use of force is excessive or unnecessary physical force by a correctional officer, which also violates the Eighth Amendment. It's particularly used as punishment rather than maintaining safety or order, it's not in an instance of rioting or fighting back, harm to an officer. It's more so used as a punishment or use of force that is not necessary. The case study violation explained within this case study number 3. A mentally ill inmate was intentionally placed in a dangerous situation by a correctional officer with the encouragement for violence from other inmates, meaning they put them in an environment that they knew was not supportive and safe for them, but also urged the other inmates on to cause violence to this mentally ill inmate. This demonstrates the deliberate indifference to the inmate's safety and violated the Eighth Amendment's prohibition on cruel and unusual punishment. And the inmate's mental illness increases the facility's duty to protect, not endanger, meaning that this inmate was particularly vulnerable and needed a bit more care or safety than other inmates that may be within the correctional facility. Potential liability for the crime would be the correctional officer who orchestrated the inmate placement may face criminal charges like official misconduct, assault by proxy, or even reckless endangerment to the inmate and the individual. These could be pursued by local or federal prosecutors depending on jurisdiction. Potential civil liability for this case would be the inmate's family could file a civil rights lawsuit under the 42 U.S.C. 1983 for violation of constitutional rights. The correctional facilities supervisors and the correctional officers could be held liable for damages, including pain and suffering, medical expenses, and punitive damages as well. The appropriate resolution would be involving holding those accountable through civil and criminal action. Additionally, systemic reforms such as mental health training for staff, reducing overcrowding, and increasing accountability. Doing specific trainings once a year or as onboarding for mental health, how to handle those types of situations would really help in the future from preventing things like this. As this case clearly violates the Eighth Amendment due to the deliberate punitive exposure of a mentally ill inmate for foreseeable harm.